Hi there. So the way things are going these days, it's as though there's a lot happening, and yet there's nothing happening. And it's very interesting to me. Now, part of the reason for this is there are things that are going on, such as that ridiculous dance video of Megsy's, that it's hardly a surprise to most of us. And it's why she did it. I know exactly why she did it. There's a lot of reasons to it, but she did it primarily to appeal to the Sussex Squad, who no doubt love it. I mean, it's hardly the first time that she's done such a ridiculous video. But it's so odd in that we're still talking about it. Well, why are we still talking about it? Well, we're still talking about it because those of us that have watched this train wreck all these years, we're so ridiculous. We're used to it. We saw it. Let's move on to the next ridiculous thing that she does. However, because this is the one that this was, the straw that broke the public's back, and they're catching on to it, they're not letting it go. And so on the one hand, it's a good thing that they're not letting it go, because it says that now, everybody else sees what we've been seeing for years. But on the other hand, I mean, of all the freaking things that we get stuck on, does it have to be this ridiculous dance video? But it is what it is. And we just need to, of course, appreciate the fact that, in fact, the world is now starting to see what we've seen all along. So as a result, I have a lot of things, some of which say nothing, to talk about today. So let's get into this. Here we have a video of Megan dancing. And this is a video that I found on a Squad Instagram page, I believe, a while ago. I've had this for a while. I've used it kind of as part of my outro for a while. And yes, obviously there's a lot different here. This is slightly less objectionable because she's not pregnant, she's not twerking, she's not as vulgar as she is in, obviously now we have this one, the birthday one. So yes, I understand that there's differences to this, and the second one, the one where she's pregnant, is obviously a different, a horse of a different color, so to speak. And I get that, and I understand it makes it more objectionable. But overall, what we ought to be seeing is that it's a willingness for her to just grab attention, whatever attention she can, at any time she can, for the purposes of creating her narrative. If you look at it with that perception, yeah, this isn't anything new. But it is very new to the general public, who are suddenly opening their eyes and saying, what the hell is going on here? And yes, that is enjoyable to listen to because, let's be honest, we've all seen this for years. And now to see people suddenly opening their eyes and seeing what we have seen and making the connections that we have made a long time ago. Shout out, obviously, to Danger Zone, to Yankee Wally, and all those people. Megan's Mole with her PhD in moon bumpology. Obviously, this is stuff that's not new to us and that others have found before and realized before and made the connections to before. So when you put it in that context and with that mindset, then obviously we can't be too upset that we're still talking about this ridiculous video, because it is doing something that we've wanted to happen for a long time now. It's opening people's eyes to what this woman is capable of, what Harry is capable of, what they have actually been doing for years. So yes, I get it. In that sense, this is a good thing, so let's keep talking about it. But as always with Megsy, it's done in the backdrop of distracting us from one of her other ridiculous stunts. In my mind, this is the one that everybody ought to be paying more attention to, because there's so much in this that is such a mess, like a complete mess. Are we supposed to be believing that Disney shut down for the day so that Harry and Meghan could take their kids to Disney? My goodness. That just doesn't happen. I mean, maybe they might shut down for an hour or two in the morning or in the evening, but they are not going. Meghan and Harry do not have the money to pay Disney enough to, compensate them for an entire day's earnings lost. Like, that's just not going to happen. And interestingly enough, honestly, the way this stuff is starting to circle back around on itself, like, there's no way this is coincidence. But interestingly enough, that day, it was a Thursday, I believe. Thursday, I forget the date. But that day that Meghan and Harry supposedly spent the day at Disney, and it seemed to have closed down on them, who else was at Disney that day? Well, apparently the graduating class of Immaculate Heart High School. Yeah, that same day. They were at Disney, and it's posted on their Instagram page saying that they were there celebrating class graduation. All of them were there. Teachers, chaperones, students. So yeah, clearly Disney was not closed down that day. And honestly, if it was, there would have been announcements everywhere. People plan, the vacation of a lifetime to go to these Disney parks in some cases. And you don't just close the park down for the day on a whim. It has to be posted. It has to be known. Everybody who had planned their vacation to go to Disney that day, they would be livid if they couldn't go because Harry and Meghan wanted to go take their kids there. It's impossible. So if anybody believes that Disney shut down for the day for Meghan, nobody knows about it, and there was no posting of it. There's nobody can say they got the email from Disney, sorry, we're closed. It didn't happen. That's impossible. And in fact, as I said, we know that Immaculate Heart High School, Meghan's alma mater, was in fact in Disney that day. Posted on their Instagram page, so we know Disney was open. Now, you may ask, how did I find out about this? Wow, what a coincidence. What a coinky-dink. Found out about this? Well, the way I in particular found out about it was one of my friends on X, Angry Lemon Water. Fantastic. Thank you so much. She's the one that gave me the tip to be able to find this information. But the information came from an account, and I'm not going to give away the name of the account. I don't really want to. I don't really want people to go bother them. It is what it is. But this account, and you can see, you got Immaculate Heart High School there with their mascot, the panda. Okay? Now, this account on X, I found out about it because at one time, I think it was when I did the video where I showed the Immaculate Heart, the alumni banners and whatnot, and I showed how Meghan is conspicuously in one and conspicuously absent from another, and the photos that are out of order alphabetically, blah, blah, blah. So all that stuff put together, when I did that video, an account reached out and commented that they were in fact an alumni of Immaculate Heart, and they know for a fact that Meghan graduated in 1997. Now, of course, my first question to this account was, well, great, excellent, show us your yearbooks. Let's post them. Put them up on classmates.com or something like that. Let's see the evidence. It's wonderful. Thank God you reached out to us. Now we know. Now, if you will notice, I have not since been showing photos of Meghan's yearbook, and they still have not posted on classmates.com because the response back was, oopsie, the yearbooks are at my mom's and I just can't get them right now. That was a couple months ago? Yeah. Still haven't heard from them. Still haven't gotten the yearbooks. You can imagine how I evaluate this person in terms of the likelihood that they are, in fact, a fellow graduate of Immaculate Heart High School, as they claim to be. Well, they could be a graduate of Immaculate Heart High School, but I don't think they have the ability to prove what they claim that they can prove. Oh, and did you know what a sweetheart Nanaki is? Yeah, so I think you can read between the lines what I think of this. But the interesting, I mean, honestly, who has their high school, picture the picture of their high school on their banner, on their X account, and their high school mascot. I mean, come on. What 40-year-old has that? I'm pretty sure very few. And the fact that it's there and it's all, and, you know, her screen name is connected, in fact, to Immaculate Heart High School. It's just way too much of a setup. I mean, it's way too obvious. I'm sorry, you're going to have to do a little bit better to fool me. But interestingly enough, they are the ones that posted about the fact that Immaculate Heart seniors were at Disney the day that Meghan claimed to be. Is this opposition? Is this feeding a narrative? Is this keeping the speculation going? I don't know. It could be any of those, or it could be all of those. I just don't believe that this is someone that has the ability to prove or bear witness to the fact that Meghan graduated at any particular time, because I don't believe they would tell the truth, even if they know it. Now, I didn't actually take a screenshot of this account making the comment about how Immaculate Heart High School was there on the day that Meghan claimed to be, because it wasn't really relevant, because I went to the original Instagram post of Immaculate Heart and found it there, which I think is more important, is that it this account is, that's a little side note to the fact that Meghan clearly was not at Disney the day that she claims she did in the way she claims that it happened. And so I did not take that screenshot. But this is another interesting one too, by the way, that they're pointing out a connection between Meghan and her hairstyle and Queen Victoria. You know, it's almost as though they are giving people ideas that they otherwise wouldn't have, that perhaps might feed into more of Meghan's story. And really, I can't think of it as anything other than a story at this time, because it's so unbelievable, it's so unlikely, it's so inauthentic, that's kind of just how I think about it in my head, right or wrong. Sorry, that's just where I'm at. But I do think that this account pointing out these things, it's just a little too convenient in my head. So take that for what it's worth. Like I said, I'm not going to, give you the exact screen name. I don't want you to go harass this person. If I were to guess, it's probably just someone, I don't think it's Meghan herself. I think it's probably just someone who's either looking for attention, which I wouldn't want to give, or it's some flunky of Meghan's, like, just doing their job. So, I mean, I kind of just want to let them go do their thing. I just don't believe a word that they say. I mean, if they really wanted to, there were other things that they could have done, you get what I'm saying here. But if they were legit by now, they would have produced a yearbook. Don't give me this nonsense that it's in your mom's basement. I mean, please. But I do think it's interesting that they were the ones pointing out that Immaculate Heart, in fact, was there on the day that, I mean, maybe it's Nanaki. Maybe it's Nanaki and she's not involved in this whole thing. I mean, I don't even know anymore. But all of this comes back to one bigger issue. For me, the bigger issue is here we seem to have Meghan as this modern day Nero sitting on the roof watching Rome burn. I mean, we have these LA fires. LA fires. We have these LA riots going on, and what's happening? There are people talking about Meghan and her trip to Disney. I mean, hello? LA is burning to the ground. And we're sitting here worried about whether or not Meghan is twerking? Our priorities are all messed up, to the point that it's almost as though she's helping to distract people. And distract them from what? Distract them from the horrific mismanagement of California by Gavin Newsom. And who do we know that supports Meghan, Harry, who works together? Meghan, Newsom, all of these people, this connection, this very, very corrupt connection amongst California politicians, it's frightening. And I think it's underestimated a great deal. There is, and if I can, I'll try and link it in the description. There is an article, I think it's behind a paywall though, if I remember correctly. But there is this investigative journalist out of Montecito who has written about the vineyards and Getty, Newsom, Kamala, Pelosi. I mean, Megan's in with them. And this is a big thing. And I don't know why people don't pay more attention to it. But like I said, it's like she's this freaking modern day Nero. In case you don't know, there is the legend that while Rome is burning, the Emperor Nero was sitting on the roof playing the fiddle or something like that. And, you know, that he cared nothing about the fact that Rome was burning. Well, we've got an entire state on fire pretty much for months, pretty much in January in one way or another. And the California Democrats are sitting there, you know, on the roof, letting it burn. And Megan, ever the people pleaser, yes, note the sarcasm, is sitting there helping out by being a nice distraction with her twerking and her, you know, trip to Disney. I don't know. It just all seems too convenient and too coinkydink for me. You know, maybe I'm just getting so cynical to all these coincidences. I mean, I guess coincidences sometimes are just coincidences, but I don't know. And along these lines, this is something that I saw on X today, and, you know, it just kind of hit me. And I'm hoping that this gentleman doesn't mind and that he's okay with this. I know that the Royal Griff plays his clips a lot, and so I do want to play a clip that it just really hit me with Mark Schellenberger. Hopefully he won't mind. I don't even know what this is from. Is it from a website? I assume he has a channel. But I do want to play bits and pieces of this clip.
A lot of people are upset about all of these images of rioters in Los Angeles waving the Mexican flag. If the protesters love Mexico so much, people are asking, why are they so upset when the U.S. enforces laws against illegal entry? Now, imagine for a moment that a group of Americans, including myself, were in Mexico City and began throwing bricks at police officers, smashing store windows, setting fire to government vehicles, and waving the American flag. We would not walk away unharmed. And yet in Los Angeles, protesters did exactly that. They attacked law enforcement, blocked ICE agents, and vandalized public buildings. And yet California leaders not only did not defend the law, they condemned those who tried to enforce it. Governor Gavin Newsom called the deployment of 2,000 National Guard troops to restore order purposely inflammatory. LA Mayor Karen Bass said, "We will not stand for this," referring not to the attacks on police officers or destruction of public property, but to the federal response. She reaffirmed her administration's ties to advocates of illegal immigration and made clear her allegiance was with the protesters, not with law enforcement. Now, what's truly inflammatory is not sending in the National Guard, it's standing by while mobs pelt law enforcement with bricks and fireworks, then accusing those officers of oppression. It's watching public spaces descend into chaos while calling the enforcement of laws the problem.
Now, personally, I think this gentleman is intelligent enough and eloquent enough that you will get his point without my commentary. However, just to be safe for YouTube and whatnot, I do want to, occasionally throw in a word here or there. I mean, at what point do people acknowledge that essentially the order of the day or the wish of the day by the California mayor and the California governor is anarchy? Okay, you can't take away all power and authority of law enforcement, of the National Guard, of everybody that's trying to reclaim the city for the law and order. You can't condemn them all and then expect that lawlessness will not prevail. I mean, it's ludicrous to me. I don't understand how anybody can sit there and doubt at this point in time that either the Democratic Party in California, their vindictiveness against Trump is so extreme that they would rather watch the city and the state burn down than actually let him succeed, or you got to wonder what the ulterior motive is here. It's just not adding up.
In wealthy neighborhoods, the law is still being enforced. If you torch a car in Beverly Hills, the neighbors are going to demand that you're arrested. If you do it in East LA while shouting political slogans, you're engaging in protest. This two-tiered enforcement is not progressive. It's segregation by another name. It creates one set of expectations for the politically connected and another for the disposable. And in that framework, working people, especially immigrants, families, and hourly wage earners, are abandoned. They're the ones who walk their kids past the open-air drug dealing. They're the ones whose shops are looted and whose cars are stolen. They're the ones who call 911 and wait and wait and wait some more. Now, people sometimes ask me how California can feel so anarchic on the one hand and so authoritarian on the other. The answer is simple. It's not actually a contradiction. California doesn't swing between chaos and control. It imposes both on purpose and at scale. Now, as we saw, when the leader of China comes to San Francisco, the city leaders end illegal camping overnight. California is what happens when the state abandons its duty to protect ordinary citizens while tightening its grip on the law-abiding. California Democrats demanded people show proof of vaccination to enter coffee shops and then allowed people to smoke fentanyl on the sidewalk outside.
I mean, can we think that through? All right, can someone explain the logic there? And it's absolutely true. You still see people walking around with masks in California, and you sit there and you gotta wonder whether or not this is about the, virus that we had to deal with, or whether or not this is about hiding their identity so they can get away with things. I mean, at what point does someone say, this is wrong? They are not allowed to do this. And does someone put some sort of a stopgap to it? I mean, I don't live in California. I live about as far away from California as I possibly can and still be in the United States, thank God. But someone in California has to know this is wrong. I mean, what about the people in California? And I'm not blaming anybody in California. I'm saying, how on earth are you the people who, I guarantee there are people in California who think this is insane. How are they so marginalized there? How did it happen? As a bit of a rhetorical question, I know how it happened. And I've said it before, my perception on how it happened. It happened through political correctness. The acceptance of the concept of being and speaking and doing everything in the guidelines of this politically correct, inoffensive way. That was what led to all of this, in my opinion. Allegedly, do your own research and form your own conclusions.
They fined restaurant owners for trying to survive and then shut down gyms trying to help people stay healthy. Meanwhile, they decriminalized theft, refused to prosecute open drug dealing, and looked the other way as cartel-run fentanyl and methamphetamine networks took over entire neighborhoods. They demanded that social media companies censor dissent, labeled truth as misinformation, and silenced critics who warned of the obvious collapse. They banned plastic straws, but then passed out crack pipes. They prosecuted pastors for holding worship services, but refused to prosecute men who beat women unconscious on public transit. This is not confusion, it's deliberate inversion. You could get cited in Pasadena for watering your lawn on the wrong day of the week, but not for operating a meth lab next to an elementary school in Venice Beach. You could lose your job for refusing a booster and keep your taxpayer-funded hotel room while terrorizing pedestrians. You could be banned from Twitter for misgendering someone, but face zero consequences for selling the fentanyl that kills a person. These are the inevitable outcomes of a broader campaign to dismantle civilization. Now, that may sound extreme, but it's exactly what's happening. California's left does not believe in the legitimacy of the American legal system. It does not believe in borders. It does not believe in the equal application of the law. It sees those things as tools of white supremacy, and so it seeks to undo them. Refuse to prosecute, refuse to arrest, refuse to respond. Let the system collapse under the weight of its own paralysis. In its place, they promise a new ethic built on harm reduction, lived experience, and the abolition of carceral logic.
I'm going to disagree with him on one point, where he says that the idea is that they believe that anything that deals with law and order, it's a product of white supremacy, blah, blah, blah. I don't agree with that, in that I don't think they believe that for a second. I think they just want everybody else to believe it. It's the hammer that they use to make their point. It's the propaganda that they spread in order to get people to get on board with it. And at the end of the day, I would actually say, based on what I know about him, that's probably what he is saying actually here as well. It's just I don't know that he said it well enough to explain it. Yes, they are going to use the excuse or the justification or the criticism of white supremacy in order to get people to do and to feel and to think what they want. But it's not that they really do believe that it is the product of white supremacy. That's just like I said, the hammer that they're going to use to get their point across, which is very interesting when you consider that the idea that Meghan was biracial, I feel that was very intentional there. And for the same thing, it gave them the ability to use the race card in dismantling the monarchy. And I mean, we have to acknowledge at this point that's what they want to do. And sadly, I don't know that the current monarch is against that. And that's where, I have a lot of concerns. But that's why Meghan was biracial. Because that was always going to be a part of the framework for what they were going to do, in my opinion. Allegedly, do your own research and form your own conclusion.
But the reality is violence, fear, and disorder. During the pandemic, Governor Newsom released nearly 15,000 inmates from prison, including violent offenders, under the banner of public health. A full 1/3 of them victimized people and ended up back in prison. For years, Californians were told by their media and political leaders that reports of rising crime were exaggerated or invented. They were told that what they saw with their own eyes was a moral panic. Editorial boards accused concerned citizens of racism and hysteria. News anchors spoke of a crime narrative rather than crime itself. But the data eventually became impossible to deny. The state's own figures now show that California's violent crime rate under Newsom rose to be 31% higher than the national average by the end of 2022. In Los Angeles, aggravated assaults rose 23% between 2019 and 2022.
The thing that bothers me a lot about this is that even the people that point this out or mention it, and I'm not talking about this gentleman here, he's actually wonderful. What I mean is that even the people in the media that are going to sit there and say this about Newsom, say, oh, well, what the hell's going on here? California's a mess under his leadership, blah, blah, blah. They are going to present this information as though he's hiding it because it's a failure. Well, it is a failure, but that's not the bigger issue here. This isn't just that he mismanaged and screwed up. This was intentional. And that's the part that I think even the responsible news media is neglecting to share, is that, okay, well, it's great and all that we know that he was actually a really crappy governor, but was he just a crappy governor, or was it all part of something bigger? And I think it was part of something bigger. And I think the problem is that even the good media isn't saying that.
When voters last November tried to take back control by passing Proposition 36 with over 70% support, which allows judges to mandate addiction treatment, Newsom has refused to fund it. The fact of the matter is that the people who run California don't see the riots as a crisis. They see them as a cleansing. They believe civilization itself, in the form of its laws, its borders, and its police, is corrupt at the root. In that worldview, civilization is not progress, it's crime. It's what made the conquest of indigenous people possible. It's what permitted slavery. It's what created capitalism, fossil fuels, families with two parents, and fixed addresses. To them, the entire American project is a centuries-long atrocity masquerading as democracy. In their view, public order is not something to protect, it's something to dismantle. The violence we see in the streets is not a failure of their leadership, it's the fulfillment of their ideology. They believe the very existence of American law enforcement is an expression of white supremacy. The burden of all this doesn't fall on the celebrities or the influencers or the politicians who created it. It falls on the working people and the poor, on the elderly, on the immigrants who follow the law, on the single mothers trying to keep their kids safe, on the nurses and teachers and cashiers and delivery drivers who can't afford to leave. It falls on the people who believed that if they worked hard and obeyed the rules, the state would protect them. Instead, the state has turned its back on them. And all the while, we're told that the law is the enemy. The truth is, the law is what makes life livable. It's what allows strangers to live alongside one another. It's what allows parents to send their kids to school, to open a store, to walk home at night. If you're not already a subscriber to Public, please subscribe now to support our award-winning investigative journalism, our defense of free speech, and to watch the rest of this video and read the rest of the article.
And in the midst of all this, our favorite disaster tourist who, comes in to save the day any potential time she can, instead of talking about it, instead of, gaining some sort of residual, attention from what's happening in LA, she's talking about her family taking a fake trip to Disney. And that's where, the distraction comes in. Distract the people that, know about Harry and Meghan. Well, let's, maybe the whole twerking video is just a distraction so that, fewer people pay attention to what the hell is happening in California. Maybe she's willing to be the fall guy for the bigger picture. I don't know. I just know that I don't discount it at this point in time. Nothing would surprise me. That's what I have for you today. I look forward to reading your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you all have a great day, filled with love, laughter, and of course, dancing.
Dancing